I'm sorry to report that the French state continues to put pressure on Muslim women living in France in an underreported news item, which I only heard about today. I read in Middle East Eye online, I'll link to it below. It says, France, women's rights advocates outraged after Senate votes to ban hijab in sports. Legislators voted 160 to 143 in favour of the right-wing proposal, which is yet to be adopted. And the article continues, French legislators have voted in favour of an explicit ban on, quote, the wearing of the veil in sports competitions, triggering an uproar by women's rights advocates, it says. The lawmakers on Tuesday, just a few days ago, so there's nothing in the British press. I don't remember seeing this on BBC or Guardian or The Times, let alone the Daily Mail or anything else. The lawmakers on Tuesday amended proposed legislation that proposed the prohibition of, quote, the conspicuous wearing of religious signs while taking part in events and competitions organised by the sports authorities. Now, this is a little detail that is very telling. So the Senate amended proposed legislation that was going to basically ban the conspicuous wearing of religious signs. The amendment, though, proposed a further amendment proposed by the right-wing group called the Republicans, added a further reference to the headscarf, hijab, that Muslim women obviously choose to wear, arguing that the headscarves, quote, put the safety of athletes at risk. I kid you not. So the amendment explicitly targets the hijab. It's no longer just the wearing of religious signs. And we all knew anyway, this was code for Muslims anyway. But it's to do with the hijab. And this was approved, as we know, by 160 Senate members and rejected by 143. The French government, interestingly, voted against the amendment. Now, I think there's a reason for this, not explicitly stated, which I'll come to in a minute. Why would the French government oppose this? They have proposed similar legislation before, banning the hijab in other areas. So why would they do this? I think there's an answer to that. France already triggered outrage since an amendment last year, coming back to this very point about the government, the amendment last year to the controversial separatism bill that banned girls under the age of 18 from wearing hijab in public spaces. So there is a series of legislative actions to target Muslim women in France, restricting their ability to live normal lives as Muslim women in France. The bill, that bill, called Strengthening the Respect of the Principles of the Republic, quote unquote, drew criticism on social media and saw the beginnings of the Hands Off My Hijab campaign. Now, the French Football Federation already bans women from wearing the hijab in official matches, and headscarves are already prohibited in schools and government buildings in France. So there's a whole series of laws restricting what Muslim women can wear in public. Now, I think that I came across this brilliant response on TikTok, which I'll share now. This is a video, came out very recently. It's been liked by 10.5 million people, which is amazing for TikTok. And it explores what many are thinking about this ban. So here it is. It's worth watching.
Do you have a problem with my hoodie? Everyone wears hoodies. Okay, how about this beanie? Beanies are so cute. Okay, how about this scarf? Those are so high fashion. I see them on runways all the time. Okay, perfect, because oh my god, why would you willingly cover your hair like that? Are you oppressed?
Now, this is the detail. Why would the French government oppose this new legislation, given that they've already done virtually the same kind of thing in public spaces, in schools, in public institutions, in football? Here, I think, is the reason. The 2024 Summer Olympics are to be held in Paris, and it's unclear how the amended legislation will affect the events. changes can still be made to the amendment by members of the Senate and the lower house by, quote, forming a commission before the amendment is published, according to this website. So can you imagine, okay, so the French government in Paris is going to host the Olympic Games, and would it support legislation banning Muslim women from the whole world? Can you imagine the diplomatic, cultural, even economic consequences if the government was seen to uphold the ban on Muslim athletes attending the Olympics in Paris? So I suspect that's the reason why they don't want to be seen to be upholding this amendment, even though they have done precisely the similar kinds of things before. So, if they were going to be consistent, they support it. But I think that's why they're not. They don't want to face the music over banning Muslims from the Olympic Games in Paris. I mean, can you imagine the outcry? Now, one Twitter user called out what he called the systematic targeting of Muslim women by the French government. And he said, France is ruled by dictators. 5.2 million Muslim rights have been ignored as a hijab ban in sports have been made into a law in France. That's slightly premature. It hasn't been made into law yet, but it could well be. So in reality, Muslims should choose between sport and their religion. This is a systematic deprivation targeting a group of people. And others took to Twitter to voice their more pressing concerns. Here's one. Of all the urgencies facing France, the Senate has decided to ban the Muslim hijab in sports. It will be on the majority of the French to decide what matters: food on the table, a future for their kids, or constant Islamodiversion and a sense of superiority towards their Muslim neighbour. Actually, opinion polls do show that unfortunately, these kinds of attacks on Muslim women in France are popular. Most French people support them, according to opinion polls anyway. So just to finally note that this story comes as some girls have been banned from entering the classroom in India at a college. And here's a tweet from France to India: policing the hijab and Muslim women's bodies is a spearhead of state-sponsored Islamophobia. So this is, I think, very concerning news indeed, that the French Senate votes to ban the hijab in sports. It clearly captures something of the popular mood in France, particularly as the presidential elections are coming up on April the 10th. And we wait to see the outcome of that. Until next time.